Guest Anna Hidalgo, and I am here with Anna Neon Eva, and today we are here for the Sanese Wellness Purpose with Passion series, encouraging you to discover your passions because they will lead you to your purpose. So the question is, are you wishing for a life of fulfillment and bliss? Are you looking for someone who can be your visionary guide along your journey? Because today we have Anna here, and she is going to help with that. So thank you, Anna, for joining us. How are you?
I am doing great today. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here and talk to this beautiful audience. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And before I get started with the questions that we have for her, I want to invite anyone who's joining, who's listening and watching to feel free to ask any questions that you might have as we go along the way. All of these interviews are slated and purposeful for you to discover your purpose with passion. So feel free to ask any questions that'll help you along your journey. Okay, so first let's get into who Anna is. So she is a visionary guide, an artist, a writer, and inspirational speaker. I love it. She's a single mother and world traveler to 2 little toddlers, is building several, you heard it right, several organic businesses from yoga hotels to raw food restaurants. Currently, she decided to set up a base in Oaxaca, Mexico. I love saying that city's name.
Sounds so sexy. The way you say it sounds really sexy.
So she's setting up base in Oaxaca, Mexico, where she soon will be hosting a mind, body, and spirit retreats with focus on empowering other females and mothers to live their dreams fully. Wow.
I couldn't have even said it more beautiful than you just did. Thank you.
Hey, this is all a testament to what you do and who you are. Beautiful.
Thank you so
again,
much.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing and what you're going to share with our audience. I know that everyone will appreciate so much your journey, because after hearing you talk about all the things that you've done, I'm like, listen, I have like more to do now.
Oh no.
I got to get myself on track.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
I got to come hang out with you now.
Please. You're coming to the mind, spirit, body.
Oh, definitely. Well, I'm hoping we can collaborate on that one. I think it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear more about it. So we'll get into that, into her mind, body retreats. Her spirit retreats rather. But first, let's get started on some of these questions. I know that people are dying to know, who you are, how you started your journey, what pushed you, and basically how you discovered your passion. Let's know.
Okay, great. Let's start. So for me, basically, I mean, it's a journey, right? I keep rediscovering new parts about myself. I keep growing, keep having ideas. I mean, one day I'll walk in the street and I'll be like, oh my God, this business is for rent. Like, wow, I could open a raw food restaurant. So I haven't really planned anything out. And every day is really filled with magic and just a new day to grow again, right? To grow life, to start it like a fresh day, basically. But what happened for me so going back, obviously, I think for every mom or single mom, it's a big turning point in their life when the relationship breaks with the baby dad, And for me, that was really, it felt like I lost everything, right? So I lost my relationship. I lost my social status basically too, because it's like, oh great, she's pregnant and she has she has a kid and she's pregnant. And where is the father? She lives with her parents. Like, what the hell, And I was turning 30. So I was really at a point where I just felt like, wow, I'm such a loser. Like, I'm turning 30, I'm not married, pregnant, walking around all embarrassed being pregnant, and not having that support, that dad, that picture perfect family. And I was pregnant too, pumped up with hormones. So it was this point where I was going to be
waiting to happen.
Yeah. So I was either going to fall into, pregnancy depression, or I was really going to step up and be I am the one who needs to turn this around. My parents, they're feeding me and they're helping me at home, right? And they're taking care of my kids. But they're not, if I would give them my life and put it in their hands, they have a whole nother vision of how I should live it, what I should do. And there was nobody else. My friends, most of them don't have kids, you know, I didn't really have close friends being like, oh yeah, I'm going to counsel this pregnant lady now and help her out, you know? So it was really, I had to just step up for myself and find that passion again, you know, find the inspiration, create the life I want to have and mold it little by little. And I was starting from zero, you know, I was really in a shitty ass situation, excuse my language, but I was really at a point where it was just like, damn, what am I doing, you know, with my life, and how am I gonna get out of this? You know, I had no financial support from the baby dad. I had a little money saved up, but I kept spending it on baby clothes. And that was for me really a turning point where I was like, I have to do something. I have to start a business. So I started a business highly pregnant. I opened a shop, a yoga baby mama shop in Austria, like all organic and everything, which allowed me, I mean, it really allowed me in that time before I was giving birth, and I knew I was going to give birth alone. And I had all this kind of burden on me, where that was for me a project, you know, instead of getting depressed and sitting at home and doing nothing, I had a paintbrush in my hand. I started painting that store. I started ordering the clothes. I started setting it up, and I felt purpose again, you know. In
essence, you channeled that energy that it would have gone wrong, right? You channeled that energy into something useful and fruitful. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, talk about trauma and drama and trauma, right? Like, it's insane. And
it's the fire. It ignites that passion. It fuels the fire, you know, that's inside of you.
Absolutely. And, you know, I so appreciate the fact that you were still pregnant when you did this project, because you and I spoke about this when I was pregnant. I also was teaching classes. So for those ladies out there who think that because they're, you know, whatever, barefoot and pregnant, they can't do anything, that's just straight BS. Like,
and I love how you said too, it's like in our minds, we think, oh, you're a pregnant woman, you're supposed to rest and you're supposed to lie down. I mean, sure, to a certain extent, of course, you know, yes, you need to take care of your body, but a pregnancy doesn't prevent you from opening a business, from doing exercise, from living. Yeah, absolutely. And creating the life that you want.
Absolutely. So, okay, so you're pregnant. You're opening up a business. What is your family? I mean, take me through what they're talking about. Are they thinking that you're insane? Are your friends like disowning you? Like, what's happening?
Absolutely. I remember when I was walking around, I was going to buy a little short for my girl from a store, and I saw that empty shop, right? And I was like, I'm just going to ask for fun how much the rent is, you know? And I asked, and it was like way less than I was used to, because I used to live in San Francisco. So prices in Austria, it was like way less. And I was like, oh my God, really? It's only 500 euros? Like, wow, you know? And I couldn't stop thinking of it. I would go to bed and I was just thinking about it. And the idea just in that night came to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to open up organic baby shop, because there's not a lot of organic clothing. I love using that for my kids, and it's really expensive. So I can buy it wholesale. And I can connect. And then I put in the yoga part, because I was like, I love meditation. I love yoga. That way I can connect to people that, you know, because I didn't know anybody anymore in Austria. Like, I'd been there 12 years ago, and I could connect with the people that were like me, you know, moms that are a little like into the organic stuff, that like, or people that like yoga, that like meditation. And so the next day I went to my parents. I'm like, so I'm going to open up a store. And of course they were like,
what?
They were like, what? And my dad, the first thing he would say, because my grandfather had a store, he's like, you don't even know how much work that is. You don't even know what it entails to run a store. I said, yeah, I don't know, but I got to do something, man, with my life, you know?
Absolutely.
But I have to say, I mean, my parents were really I mean, they know, like, okay, crazy girl has an idea, she's going to go for it, you know? So they know that, like, they know that they can't stop me, and we're just going to be fighting. So they really, really supported me, you know, like they absolutely like supported me financially, taking care of my kids, like all of that. But I did have a few days where like, first my dad would all be like, oh, you can't do this. You know, you're like pregnant and you have your other kid. Like, what are you even thinking? And then while I was building it, and it was like literally, I mean, I got my contractions. I was like painting the ceiling. I was there with my little daughter. I got my contractions. I'm like, no, that's probably just, you know, that's not contractions. You know, I kept painting. That's not real. It's just those phantom pain, you know? And I kept painting and painting. And then at some point I'm like, okay. And when my baby was 2 weeks old, I went back in the shop. But all of a sudden, first my dad was like, how are you going to do it? And then all of a sudden he's like, I don't think you're ever going to open that store. You're just a dreamer. You're just like, you know, talking about it. That store is never going to open. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I just had a baby 2 weeks ago.
And I'm back in the store, Dad. Hello.
Yeah.
Holy cow. All right. So pause there because, okay, so this is like insane. So first, let's go back a little bit because I know I asked you this question before when we were talking. This is highly unusual for someone to do this, right? Let's start there. And then let's ask, you know, like, I know obviously there was something in you. This is not a typical thing for women to just aspire to do, especially when they're pregnant. I mean, obviously women do it. I did it. You did it. But you know, it's also part of your personality, who you are, how you grew up. So, I mean, were there points in your history, pivot points in your past when you were growing up that inspired and continued to inspire this kind of behavior? Because this is like, you know, kind of like break the rules type behavior.
Rebellious kind of behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, I've definitely always had it in me. So I remember from a kid, I basically was born in the States, right? But when I was 3 years old, my parents moved to Austria. And I was like, you know, lost in Heidi land, basically. Like everybody was speaking German, you know? And I remember in school, like being really different, like from kid on before everybody like starts to mold you and shape, you know? I would like sew my own clothes and I would wear the craziest like clothes, like, you know, purple cow fur, whatever. Once I had like these like hearts, alien glittery hearts. I would go to school like that, like the weirdest, most craziest shit you could find. I thought that was really cool as a kid, right? Like I actually thought it was cool and I really didn't care.
And the fact that your parents let you do this is amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't know why. If I look back, my mom's like pretty conservative, but for some reason she probably thought, oh, I'd rather let her, you know, get it out of her system now before she's doing that with 30.
Totally makes sense.
So yeah, I had that really rebellious side until, which is really interesting looking back, until I had like bad stuff happen to me. Which like my dad had an accident. I got really sick. I had cancer when I was 13. Wow. And those things made me, for some weird I made that story up totally myself, but I just basically started thinking maybe because I'm not a good girl, because I'm like different, right? Because I'm not like the norm, like everybody, because I was really taught, you have to be normal. You have to do everything. And it's German, like Austrian, like school system. Everything's like, no, you do it this way. No, you do it this way. I was always the one, no, I'm creative. I'm doing it this way. and then in my head, I made up the story. I thought maybe because I'm not normal, maybe that's why I'm being like from God, like I'm being given these hard things, right? Maybe this is like a sign that I need to be normal like everybody else. And then I tried to just be normal. I just tried so hard to be normal. It was terrible. It took years. It took years for me to find myself again because I was trying to just fit in and not let out, you know, that colorful, crazy side that I have. That dreamer, you know?
Yeah, that authentic you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Trying to cover it up with like a Starbucks person.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Amazing. So, okay. So now what continued to inspire you? Now you have this business. How did you continue to, be, passionate about this work, considering you had 2 kids and, family who weren't exactly supporting you?
Oh, it was my project keeping me alive, making me into somebody, too, because it was my project, it was my art piece, and I painted it like all these crazy colors. I designed it the way I wanted it to. Everything was my choice. It was like, I'm creating this nice little space to connect with people, but also to offer an amazing service, organic clothing, to introduce people to be more, conscious about how they consume, what their babies wear. I learned so much. I mean, every day was about learning about the shop, learning about marketing, learning about this, because all of this, I had no idea how to run a shop, right? And so every day I had to learn, and I had amazing connections with people. Every day is like a surprise. You have all these new people coming to your store that you get to connect with and share your story with. And so for me, yeah, the inspiration, I mean, I knew I'm not doing this shop for the next 30 years. I knew that, and I'm kind of that person. I love starting a business. I love setting it all up. But I'm not the person, I'm not going to be in the store selling clothes for the rest of my life, because I have so much more ideas. And this is now actually with these businesses happening here in Mexico that I'm saying, I love the process of just building it up, making it happening, contributing in a really positive way, but then not letting my energy get drained by the routine, and this time I learned a lesson of actually having other people run it that are happy for that kind of job. I mean, all the employees, actually the last employer ended up buying my store in Austria. Wow. And she's the boss of it now. So for me, I'm not attached to it. I can let go of it. And I'm really about, wow, now I want to do this. Like, I built it all up. I've seen it flourish and it's running, and somebody else can like do the day-to-day thing. So I can, again, focus on the next idea,
So it's the creation process, your creativity, producing something that's your own and letting it out into the world.
Absolutely. Kind of. And seeing the before and after. Oh my God, I love that. Before and after. It's great.
I bet. So we're going to get into that, because that has to do with people too. Their before and after that you help people with. So were there any, teachers, leaders, peers, anyone that actually, you modeled or you saw this behavior or things that you wanted to aspire to do from?
I didn't copy anybody because there was nobody like me in my environment. And I have to say, I had a really, so my friends were all distant from me. They were all in their single life, kind of. I was in my single mom life, so they didn't really have kids yet. And the ones that did have kids were like happily married. So I had nobody to connect with and I didn't want to dump all my crap on somebody, because there was not the right person to dump my crap onto. And my parents, it was also like kind of embarrassing, like, oh, I don't want to like tell. I really kept my feelings to myself. But what I did, I also went and I worked out every day. I would listen to motivational. I would all day blast my ears full with positive motivational tapes, from Tony Robbins to Abraham Hicks to who knows who's even out there, like all these people all day. I had my headphones in and listened to that, because otherwise I would have really broken down, like crying, Yeah. And then I hired a coach too. At that time, I had to hire people that inspired me, online strangers. I had to connect in the online world to some strangers that were inspiring, because I didn't have that in my environment. So I really had to do that. I had to buy myself some friends.
And actually, just to segue into that, I mean, it's so important and crucial for people to, turn off the news, turn off the stuff that is like, negative stuff that doesn't really serve you, the stuff that you have nightmares about. fill yourself with the stuff that actually helps you, that inspires you, that motivates you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't, I've actually, from kid on, I've never watched TV. I was always like, I never understood it. I was like, what are these little people doing, like living their little life there? And I have to like sit there and watch this, this is so weird. But then I had a boyfriend, he would watch every day the news 3 times a day, every channel, all day long. And we were living in a little studio apartment, so I was forced to watch it. After a year, I'm telling you, like, I would be scared to just go to my car. I'd be like, oh my God, there were like rapists. I was like looking up the rapists because some rapists are living there. And like, I would literally, and even movies, like I've seen probably like Titanic and Lion King. Those are like the only movies I've really seen in my life, because I'm like so sensitive to it. Any horror movie or anything like negative, it sticks in my head like crazy. Yeah. I'll go to the bathroom, I'll like see that scene, I'm just like a really sensitive person. And for me, it's crucial to
absolutely
surround myself around, positive things.
Yeah, you're definitely empathic. And there's a lot of empathic people out there. So I'm as well. So I can absolutely relate. So tell me about your kids a little bit. What were your kids doing all this time? What are you telling your kids at this point about what mommy does, her business, like, all these different things?
I guess they don't really, they're still, so my youngest is 3.5. My oldest is 3.5. My youngest is 22 months. So they're really close together. And the 3.5-year-old, I mean, she just plays. She doesn't really like care where mommy works. I used to take her in my store, and the little baby pretty much grew up in the store until she could like crawl and take everything off the shelves. But so the second one doesn't really talk. She's just learning to talk. And then the first one, she's more playing. She's never like sometimes she'll be like, she never actually asks, where do you work or anything? She asks more like, where do we live? Because we've been traveling a bunch. She's like, where do we live?
So get into that, because I know that a big part of your story is actually helping women understand that they can travel with kids, and you did it alone with 2. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it was kind of like I had to, when you have kids, when you start having kids, and when you're a single mom, like for me at least, everything changes, right? So much of your freedom, in a sense, is taking away, because you can't just be like, oh, I'm leaving now, or I'm going to stay at my friend's house, or I'm going to go out, or I'm going to do this, or I want to take this course, I want to become a yoga teacher. All of a sudden, it's like, can you really? Like how? Like you can't, because you have to be, I mean, I was like nursing, I'm still nursing the small one. And so it's really, I mean, I've had friends, they would just pump and be like, oh, I'm going to leave my baby 3 weeks with grandma, but I was never that type. That I always felt like, not until 2 weeks ago, my kids had the first night somewhere else, with my nanny. But until then, it's like, they're like always sleeping next to me. And the travel was because I knew I didn't want to stay in my parents' house. I knew I didn't want to like keep running the store. It was just a temporary project. So I knew as soon as the small one is big enough to travel, which I gave her about a year, and as soon as it started becoming winter and too cold for me in Austria, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm doing this. I'm traveling. I booked my flight to Portugal. Yes. And I just did it because I had to prove myself. I had to prove to myself that I can still keep living a life the way I want to live it with my kids, and it's so essential. It was so essential for me to do this because it was something I was fearing too. I had no idea how to travel with 2 little kids, and it's already so hard just having them at the house. Right. So I was like, how am I going to do this? But I had to just be like, this is something that's going to allow you to grow. And it was kind of the biggest thing I feared, but I desired the most, which a lot of people kind of goes hand in hand. You want to start a new business and you really fear leaving your 9-to-5 job. but you really desire starting this own business. So that always goes hand in hand, and you just got to push yourself and do it, because that's when you really, really are going to learn and grow and be able to become an expert later on. Like, I could not be a visionary guide now if I wouldn't have like kicked myself in the butt and faced my fears.
Absolutely. And everything is on the other side, right, of fear. I think there's a quote that says, maybe it was Tony who said it, I don't know. Something like, you know, something about like, you know, when your desire to, you know, to be better and do better overtakes your fear of failure, that's when you succeed, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It totally makes sense for you. So how do you now continue to sort of master? Because I mean, it seems like it's also part of your innate personality that you kind of are rebellious, but in a way, a trendsetter, you know, you're basically making the road for yourself one way or another, whether people like it or not, right? So how do you continue to master it? Is it continuing to face your fear? Like, how do you do it? What do you do day to day?
Every day. I mean, I have to really say every day I have to check in with myself and my mind and my own blocks and my own fears and everything. It's a daily work, because, you know, even to me, I mean, it's not like I was actually thinking about this yesterday. Like, a friend of mine sent me a video about men being like, oh, if he's not a 10, you know, don't settle for him because you deserve a 10. Like, don't settle for anything less than what's a 10. And I thought about it. I was like, am I a 10? You know, on the scale of 0 to 10 of what kind of person I can be and who I am right now, am I really a 10? And I was like, heck no, I'm not a 10, you know, like, yeah, I'm doing really, really, like, I've realized, you know, the people, like the clients I work with and the people I work with in the Visionary Guide, they suffer from the things I would suffer when I was before I jumped on the other side of the fence, you know, before I like let go of my fears. They're kind of there, you know, they're stuck in a routine, stuck in a broken relationship, unhappy with their lives, unsure, like anxiety, like all these things, depression, anxiety, fear, and just no passion, right?
Yeah.
And so I jumped over that fence. I left that behind me, right? I could expand my life. In that sense, I wake up, I'm a really, really fulfilled person. But it doesn't mean that challenges don't hit me, right? It doesn't mean that people don't hurt me, that bad stuff doesn't happen to me. Like, yeah, I still get news where it's like, oh, you forgot to pay your taxes of 6,000 euros, you know, and you have to pay it today. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't have the money. Like, and if you don't pay it, you're going to have to go to jail.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
I still get things like that happen to me. But now I can almost laugh about it. Not really laugh about it, but I'm like, all right, cool. This is happening to me right now. I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to find a way to generate that money. I'm bigger than this problem. I'm greater than this problem. I'm bigger than this problem. Universe, you know, just open the road for me. Like, I need to know how I can solve this problem. And so my mindset's changed, you know, from sitting in my problems where it would be like, oh, something bad happens to you and you're just like, oh my God, like, this is so, I'm all alone and I can't do this, to really asking like, how can I do this? How can I change this? Why is this happening again? And to keep checking in with myself, you know, like, how can I be right now? My new theme is, how can I be a 10? You know, if I feel maybe like a 6 or 7, like, what are the things for my day-to-day life to do? How would my person, a 10, look like? How would I live my day?
Operate. Absolutely.
How would a 10 operate? And so every day I have these new discoverings. Like 3 days ago, it was all like self-love discovering, you know, then now it's like the 10. Every day I get some kind of, you know, and yesterday was like giving and receiving, you know, really realizing that I'm totally out of whack with giving and receiving. And so every day I learn and I teach myself, but I keep listening to other inspirational, motivational speakers. Books, I have, a subscription with Audible where I just download a bunch of books. I mean, I can't read as a mom, honestly. I don't have time for that, but I can always listen to something when I'm on the go.
Absolutely. So how much do you think your kids have influenced your drive versus your own personal desires and personality?
Good question. You all of a sudden, besides just feeding yourself and caring for yourself, I mean, so much changed, I mean, I feel like I've probably been a celibate like the last 2 years just due to having kids because all of a sudden your choices become different, you don't just want to go with whoever kind of guy,
Yeah.
and you don't just, you also want to show your model to your kids. So it's like, I don't want to like just start a new relationship for somebody that's not going to be just, like fit my needs, fit my even expectations, and be not a danger to my girls or be a good influence to my girl, like it's a whole new game. It's like, you can't just hook up with whoever you feel like it. It's not anymore. So that's one thing, right? Personal intimacy, that totally changed that aspect. I've been pretty healthy all the time, but it is definitely also a challenge because even my kids, even if I eat healthy and I try to show them that, regardless, once they know candies, they know about sweets, once you give them milk, it's like you can't come up with the coconut milk anymore. So it's just like, it's things like that, that's, everything like that lifestyle. And then keeping it clean, keeping your house clean. I mean, you have so much more, you're all of a sudden like a manager of a business having kids, because it's like the household, you would never have such kind of mess, right? If you didn't have kids, like it would be way easier,
Tell me about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, you have so much more, everything's like, I feel like I had no idea how much, care and work kids are, before I had them.
Absolutely. So you have like a couple of businesses, your kids and any other.
Yeah. My kids being the biggest business.
Good. Okay. So what do you think are like a couple of patterns that you've seen that really limit people from pursuing their passion? I mean, obviously, personal difficulties or even like, right, being single mom, like all these things have been, things that people usually use as an excuse. Obviously that did not work for you. Yeah. But what other patterns have you seen that limit people from pursuing their real purpose or passion?
Feeling stuck is a big one. Mm-hmm. And basically, feeling stuck, having no inspiration, no passion, not knowing what they would want to do, not even knowing they're not happy with what they're doing, but also not knowing what they want. And I mean, of course, you always hear from people, I don't have the resources are lacking, right? You always hear, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. But not having the know-how, not having the recipe, the magic recipe, that's really, I feel like what's missing for people, because they don't know how to leave their 9 to 5 and feeling comfortable, really just, they've gotten used to their routine and they feel like there's not more to life, and not taking control of their own life, of their own situation, because they leave it up to the universe. They leave it up to God. They leave it up to life. It's just going to happen somehow. It just happens,
Or they give their power to other people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Waiting for something to just happen to them,
Yep. Absolutely.
And a lot of like drifting like wood, just drifting in the river, keep doing what pays the bills, but not following the path of happiness. Yeah.
And the wise words of Einstein, you can't solve something with the same mentality that created it, right? So you have to like change where you're coming from, right? You can't always just stay there in the negativity and stuckness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So since you're living in Mexico, and I know that there's a lot of Latinos there, Latinos. I had a coworker once when I worked at News Corporation. She's like, "You're Latina, right? So like, do you go dancing and like, how do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, girl, I go dancing all the time." And then she goes, "How do you do that?
How do you move?
How do you move your shoulders like that?"
That's great.
It was so funny. Okay, so back to the topic. I know. I'm like, you can do it too, girl. You just have to practice.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. So in Mexico and Oaxaca, and you have all this exposure to all these beautiful Latin people, women, men, all kids, you know. Yeah. Are there specific patterns that you've noticed amongst that population that maybe you are looking to inspire or should be inspired by us? Because I know that's a big market for me. I
definitely, you know, I feel like, so Mexico in particular, I really feel like there's really strong gender roles, right? Really strong, you know, the macho, the Mexican, like mustache kind of, you know, kind of guy. And then the sexy, like, you know, whatever.
Voluptuous Latina
that gets all the money, you know, from the, give me, you know, I am, you got to pay me to be beautiful, you know? So I see that really, really strong gender roles, you know, really like, okay, I'm a woman, I'm a man, this is how a man is, this is how a woman is. And I feel like you don't see a lot of female entrepreneurs, you know, you don't see a lot of women running a business because it's obviously always the man that gave her the money or something, you know. It's not like in the United States or in Europe where it's like, you know, women are almost like androgynous, you know, and they do both, you know.
We do it all.
They do it all. So that's where I do have to say, I noticed that, you know, and maybe that a lot of women might not have the drive to do their own business because they're like, oh, you know, I'd rather have a rich man that gives me a credit card and I can go shopping, you know? So maybe not a lot of them feel like, you know, oh, this is my passion or creativity, or I want to do something. Like they almost seem like more happy to just use someone else's money and be treated like a princess, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's something I feel like would be a great thing. I mean, I was, you know, telling you about my new friend that I met who ran that store. And it was like, oh my God, like, wow, another woman running a business. This is amazing, you know?
We need to hang out.
We need to hang out. And yeah, and then I met another girl who was like running her store. And so whenever, you know, I see a female like really running her business, you know, and they seem like the new sprouts, like they seem like the new kind of doing the new trend thing. And they're just so much more open-minded that I was like, wow, I was just, it was so special, you know, because you don't see it so much. And
how much of that do you think is, you know, something that comes from the culture though, versus something where it's like, they don't see enough women modeling to them and for them this, you know, a powerful woman, a woman who can, you know, live her life and not have to rely on a man or whoever, and can control her kingdom, kind of, so to speak. How much do you think it's cultural versus like, you know, lack of modeling?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I never really watch TV, but if sometimes, of course, you're like in a bank or you're somewhere and then like you just see those, and whenever I see like the Latina kind of TV, I mean, it's always women just at talk shows that are like super dolled up, you know, and they're just like, oh yeah, like this and that. But they, you know, they're more like about, oh yeah, I'm a sexy Latina and I have money, but I don't know how much power they have, you know. It just seems like they're just this beautiful like woman, right? Or just, it's always about, oh, the sexy, beautiful Latina, you know. But absolutely, really, you have so much more than just your body. You're so much more than just your vagina, you know, like, no, like seriously.
Your boobs.
Yeah, your boobs. You're so much more, and you have so much more to give, you know, in life, right? And you don't, obviously, you don't need a man to like pay you that and do that for you. But I feel like I do think a lot of them, you know, have been suppressed for a long time, and that was their way to get power over a man, was with being sexy and that, right? That was kind of like their only power. So that they're really using that power. And slowly in big cities, I mean, if you go to the countryside, it's still like a woman can't, you know, leave the house because she's making tortilla all days. I mean, that's actually, in fact, the funny thing is, like,
Wow.
the family from my kids, my kid's father is a Mexican, and they are rancheros, you know, and the woman doesn't have a driver's license. Like, she needs to ask to leave the house because the man needs their lunch prepared, and she either needs to find her daughter or some prima or something to make their lunch. Otherwise, it's like, what are these guys gonna do, you know, if they don't get their meat, you know? And but that is like, it's so, you go out of a city half hour, 2 hours, and that's reality still, you know? It's like a Western world, it's like 100 years ago, you know? But in big cities, it's not anymore really that case, because women have driver's license, they drive cars, they can work, you know? But I still feel like it's still really male dominated, you know?
Yeah, still a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to just invite the audience, before we continue, to ask any questions. We have Anna Neon Eva. She's a visionary guide, an artist, a writer, and inspirational speaker. And we've just been talking so much about all the amazing things you've done so far in your life. She's a single mom with 2 kids, has started a couple of businesses in the health and wellness industry. She's had a store with organic clothing and yoga, right? All these different things. So if you have any questions at all, and also traveling with kids by yourself, that's, for me, that's huge. Because I also didn't want to stay home. I'm like, no, I'm bringing the kids with me. I don't care. He's going with me on the airplane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, you know what? It's funny, but it's amazing to take your kids on the airplane, because all of a sudden 10 hours turn into 2 hours, which is, it's really, really great. So that's like really the good thing about it. And it's always easier than what you actually expect, because it feels like you dread that. You're like, oh my God, my 2 kids, like, they can't even sit still for 2 minutes. What am I going to do on a 10-hour flight? It's just going to be terrible, you know? And of course you have the moment where it's like, oh, I just pooped, and the other baby's like asleep, and I'm like, oh, or I have to poop, you know? And it's like, oh, what am I going to do right now? You know, those moments definitely happen, but it's incredible, because all this is happening on the plane, and they end up like making all these friends with strangers. You have like all these free babysitters around you. You get all these free drinks. You can like constantly be like, excuse me, I need more water. I need this apple juice. So that's what's really good.
That is true. Actually, that's a really good point about, you know, society. I feel like humanity, society, you know, they actually do help you, you know, like everything that's portrayed in the news is not real, you know, like, yes, bad things happen. Yeah. But at the end of it, you know, it's like what they say about New Yorkers. Oh, New Yorkers are so rude. I don't think so. Like, I'm actually really nice. I will always give you directions. I'll send you to the right place. Yeah. Right.
So, it's so true. When I went to Morocco. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
When I went to Morocco, I was with my 2 girls. I was so scared, because I'm like, oh my God, Muslim country. Like, what if they're going to arrest me breastfeeding, you know? And like, I had no idea, you know, and I would read online all these scary blogs of like these men, like, just, you know, whatever, trying to rape you or something. And I was so scared. And when I got there, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, we have such wrong perceptions of other cultures, you know, from just even reading blogs, other travelers' blogs. Like, come on, you know, are you kidding me? And it's so funny. Some of the Moroccan men, the Muslim men, they actually said to me, they said, you know, this country is probably more safe than your own country. I was like, yeah, that's very, very true.
Sounds like it. Yeah. You would think that it is unsafe, right? But it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I know you talked a little bit about what happens when you're on the plane with kids and you get a lot of help, which is amazing. But what happens when, the shit hits the fan? Like, how do you move forward? How do you continue to move when you have all these responsibilities and you have these businesses and you're basically alone out there in Mexico because your family's in Austria, right? So what do you do? How do you do it? And what do you recommend for people who want to pursue their dreams and, shit is hitting the fan?
Shit is always going to hit the fan. It's just always going to come and hit you.
One of those guarantees, right?
it always, and it's, the bigger you get, the bigger it's going to hit you too.
Yeah.
So that's really the thing. Yeah. That's really the thing. Like you feel like, oh yeah, like now I'm riding up there, nothing can happen. And it's like, boom, like, can you take this now? Now you're even like, we're going to whack you even more in the face. And can you take it? Are you going to die to live your dream? That's going to be the message. Or are you going to give up right before it's going to happen? Yeah. So I feel like that has definitely happened. Like I'll come so much forward in my business and it will like almost open. And then it's just like closing. All the doors are closing, like everything. I get maybe a huge bill or I don't have money to keep investing. And like, I'm sick. All my kids are sick. And it will just be like, and then you really start to question, you're like, shit, am I doing the right thing? Or is this a sign that I shouldn't be doing this, But those are the moments where it's just like, I mean, it's like if you hike a mountain, and you want to get to the tip of it. Like, yeah, you might have snowstorms or, break your ankle or whatever else happens, like things will happen on that path. And what's more important to you, to turn around and go back or to actually get to the top of the tip and just fucking do it,
Suck it up.
Suck it up, exactly.
Right. So those are the key questions that people should be asking themselves. Like, what are you there for, right? Like, what's your goal? Like, what's your dream, right? Yeah. So, okay. So now that we've basically discovered all about Anna, let's talk about your business. Like what do you do for people now? You've had such an amazing, inspirational life. How do you now give and contribute? Because one of my big things about like purpose with passion is whatever it is that you actually end up doing with your life, it should be something that contributes something to the world. And I know that you are doing that. So what is that thing?
Yeah. So now I definitely help, besides the businesses that I do where I love just really, besides online work and working with people one-on-one, I love obviously creating the businesses that bring a positive impact with healthy, for example, eating healthy, doing yoga retreats, mind-body retreats. But then I work one-on-one with people and where I really just wake them up, help them to empower to do the things that I do, to really just get from a stuck place, from a stuck mentality, and to just start living the dreams so they can feel fulfilled, really take their own hand, like their life into control, but also to make this planet a better world. Because if everybody wakes up and uses all their powers, like if everybody contributes in the way that makes them feel happy and passionate and good, like the more people are going to feel good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you call your practice?
The Visionary Guide, I call.
Okay, awesome. So tell people how they can, I think you had something that they can receive, right?
Absolutely. So I have the magic recipe that pretty much is the lifesaver of awakening to live your dreams. And yeah, I give that out for free. It's a long book. It's like a book almost. It's like 10 pages or something, but it's really, for people that are serious about it, for people that are like, you know what, okay, I'm in a shitty situation. I'm not happy with my life, or I really want to open a business. I can't open a business. I really want to travel with my kids. I don't know how. Simple work. This is what I did to really step out of my fears. And all it really is, what I did was, and it's all, you'll see in the book, it's basically step-by-step recipe directions that you cook it up and you'll get your own meal, you know?
Yeah. Your own life meal.
Your own life meal.
Absolutely. So you guys below, drop your email and Anna will send you the magic recipe for a life of fulfillment, a life of your dreams. So feel free to do that. And how can people get in touch with you? On Facebook, social media? Where are you accessible?
Absolutely. I've only been actually on social media like 2 years now, or a year and a half. So I'm just dipping again into this whole online world. But Facebook, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. And yeah, you can always just write me a direct message.
Awesome. And she's going to have her website up very, very soon. So you guys can access all the beautiful things that she does. And she's in Oaxaca, Mexico. So if you're ever around there, look her up. She has her store.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
She has her shop.
Yeah.
So make sure you add her.
My shop's still in Austria. So there's another shop in Austria that I sold and my old employee is running. And soon we'll have the restaurant and the hotel going on.
Awesome. 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 So I so look forward to seeing the rest of your, or the continuation, I should say, of your journey. And how are you going to continue to help, people just, continue to live a life of passion and, life of their dreams. Just like you are living yours, pretty much, with 2 kids in tow.
Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you in person at my retreat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. She's going to do a retreat, you guys. So I'm going to post about that as soon as she has that going. Great. So Thank you again. I honor you and I honor your mission and the drive that you have to contribute and really give to the world in the way that you do. Oh, we have a message from Pamela. Nice interview, Anna. Good to see your beautiful self. Oh.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. I love you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Feel free to continue asking questions in the comments. Anna and I will both be monitoring them. Make sure you put your email down below in the comments so that you can get the magic recipe for a life of fulfillment, the life of your dreams. And I will see you guys next Thursday for the next Purpose with Passion video series, which is encouraging you to discover your passions because they will lead you to your purpose, just like Anna's purpose has become.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Anna.
Love
thank
what
you, guys.
Doing. Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.